Boo! Yes, it's the final week of October, which means we have the World Series, college football, the NFL, NHL action, the NBA, UFC, soccer, and let's not forget about that college basketball right around the corner. Since we're almost obliged to have a Halloween commercial, let's make it a scary good one. Until midnight on October 31st, no costume is required to get a 31% discount on one all-access package of your choice at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo using coupon code BOO31 at checkout. This coupon will save you over $12 on a one-day all-access that includes any 5% plays. And it'll also save you over $18 off the 3-day all-access. Or why not go big and save over $90 off the 30-day all-access? Or perhaps take over business for the next year by saving over $600 with a 12-month all-access package. Coming out to just $3.77 per day for the next 365 days. Coupon code BOO31 expires at midnight on Halloween. But remember to use it wisely, as this coupon can only be used once at WagerTalk and once at Sports Memo. From my friend and I, happy Halloween.
Hey guys, welcome in and a very happy, Tuesday to you here. The NBA Tip-Off Show powered by WagerTalk.com. We got a light card here tonight, 4 games, some injury reports, and of course, we've got some line movement here. We're going to break down a few of these games for you, see if we can't find some value, and we're going to do it with the OG crew here on this Tuesday as we welcome back in Ski Prophet in the house, Rob Vino here, as is Tony Finn, ready to go here as we said goodbye to that first weekend of the NBA season, but we've got some interesting things happening around the league. I don't need to tell Ski about his winless Lakers because he knows all about it. As a matter of fact, he's this close to going, they're on the hell no list. Almost. We'll see if he changes his mind, but I doubt very much. Ski, what is going on here, man? 4 games tonight. What do you got locked, loaded, anything over at WagerTalk.com with this card?
Yeah, I don't know why you have to do that to me. They don't even play today. But they have made the list, just so you know. Until they make a trade, they've made the list. I have 3 player props that I've made up and available at WagerTalk, and I've cashed my only 2 that I made so far to start the season. So look to keep that going. And there's a coupon code up there, Ski 499. Get a discount on my NBA season package. So last 365 days, I know up 68 units, somewhere around that range for the NBA. So if you want to hop on board, it's a good deal right there.
Boom, love it. All right, get it done. Great idea, Ski. $4.99, I believe, and you can get that over at WagerTalk.com. Rob Vino in the house, and Vino, you piss off the contrarian gods last night. It's all your own fault. We tried to warn you. That damn Portland team scoring 100 points in the third quarter, but the good news is they might be off here tonight. So what do you got locked and loaded, if anything, here over at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, well, because of my efforts to get Portland to the finish line, I probably get a spot on Dame's next record as a featured rapper or singer. A good night for the Blazers last night. Anthony Simons, Damian Lillard, and the crew. Yeah, we're up, Joe, early this week with some college football, aside from tonight's NBA. So you want to go check out Best Bet college football action at WagerTalk.com. Probably going to have a little bit of early week action as well uploaded tonight, as NFL, of course, comes back to us Thursday. NBA right now, though, in a groove every single night. So we've got one up there right now, looking to cash in today, and hopefully we can point the listeners in the right direction here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting card here with these 4 games. Also some Thursday night college football this week. So a little something for everyone coming up here. And Tony Finn's got a little something in all of those sports for you over at WagerTalk.com. What's locked and loaded so far this week, Tom?
as soon as we're done, spreading the good news, I will have my NBA up live. I was waiting on some information, some lineup, et cetera, entry. Got it. I will. I won't try to multitask, which means I have to do two things when I'm should be doing one. When I can barely do one, so I won't do that. But when you go visit my homepage, I got it. I don't have a coupon code like Skis, but I do have this. If you'll click your heels together and just say there's no one like Finn, it'll automatically discount it to the price that you reserve. Okay, that's all you got to do.
Boom!
Click your heels together. No, it's okay. NBA so far so good. Learned a few things. We'll talk about those during the show. So far so good. Let's pick some winners. I'm ready to listen to you guys.
5% NFL play as well for Tony Finn. Make sure you get over there, guys. Check this out, and we'll go because we didn't have Ski on the show last week when we did this, so we'll go around the horn quickly because we do. It's important that when we get the OG crew here together, we share some of our thoughts and some of the things that we may have learned over the weekend here. 1 week. Into the season, Ski, is there anything that's standing out to you, whether it be a team, a player, or anything along those lines that makes you go, I either have to bet on them, fade them, any angle, anything that you've noticed here over the first week and a half?
Just a lot of players and teams out of shape. If I'm being a little bit more specific, like the Sixers. Joel Embiid, he's definitely out of shape. The Warriors, Kurt said he's not ready for the starters are not ready to play full minutes yet. You see at the end of that last game, he took them out and put the other guys in, and he had to take the ice bath off their knees to put them back in the game. So that, and then a combination of some of these younger teams to start the year, they're a little bit more in shape, I think, and that's why they're covering these spreads and winning these games, like the Spurs, who I think Rob told me they have 6 guys who are not old enough to drink yet, and it's another young team too who's been covering. But yeah, those are the surprises to me.
That's a great point, Ski, because there are some you can tell them, and we talked about it a little bit last week. There are some out of shape fat asses in this league, man. Are sucking wind up and down. I don't want to say anything, Joel Embiid. But talk to me here, Vino. He's got some great points there. We don't know how much longer that'll continue, but certainly an advantage to take a look at. How about you? You pulling anything else sticking out to you here over the last week and a half?
Well, yeah, let's piggyback off of that, Joe, with the result from last night. San Antonio goes on the road. They come to Philadelphia, where we learned from Boston on opening night that teams are going to push pace against the Sixers because they can't keep up. So, we'll piggyback off of what Ski said there. San Antonio comes into Philly. They run. They win. They go to Minnesota last night. Minnesota, a team now that's starting Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, and they put up 100 shots. Just ran Minnesota off. And generally, you don't think of Minnesota. And I think it was on this show where we talked about how Minnesota's minutes the previous night were dispersed pretty well, so they should be able to function on back-to-backs, but it wasn't the case. Greg Popovich's team is going to go. Indiana is going to go. The Utah Jazz are going to shoot. These teams aren't playing a heck of a lot of defense, but it doesn't matter. They're kind of going with the theory that Houston, Steve, and Silas went with last year, play fast, shoot faster. Utah's the biggest surprise. There's no question. They've got a bunch of three-point shooters out there and scorers that are doing the job. And I think that from 1 week, that's probably the majority of what we saw here. We see teams playing at pace, including the world champion Golden State Warriors, who are leaning more on their reserves than their starters. So it is interesting, Joe. We've seen an awful lot of high-scoring stuff, and we see Memphis, again, filling that bill as well. So a bunch of those teams that just are getting up and down the floor early here. And there haven't been a ton of back-to-back situations, so that does help.
No, not yet, but that list will continue to grow as we move forward here. How about it, Finn? Most shocking, most surprising, least shocking, least surprising? You got anything you want to share there?
Well, as Rob and Ski just talked about, so I put a little note on on Twitter before the show that the odds makers obviously forgot a few things, because the teams they mentioned, Joe, Spurs in particular in this case, were picked to have the worst record in the NBA, and they Pop, all these, I know the commissioner's looking and going to be watching film, not maybe this time of year, but later on in the season. There will be no tanking, according to Mr. Silver. But it's hard for me to have ever bought into the fact that Mr. Popovich would tank. It's kind of against his. I'm certain it's against his every fiber in his body. He's always been pretty competitive and I'm always right kind of guy. So we'll see. That's really the surprise. The Spurs have surprised me, and some of the teams. It's early. This is spring training, right? This is equivalent of spring training. You're supposed to be excited. It's a new season. Who cares that you lost 100 games last year in an 82-game season? It's a new season. Be excited. Philadelphia doesn't impress me as being interested in any way, shape, or form. It surprises me.
So we've got actually another surprise coming up here in this first game we're going to take a look at. And I know a lot of people had some high hopes for the Detroit Pistons here, who are going to be taking on this Washington Wizards team here. Wizards, I'm thinking 5.5, somewhere in that ballpark there. The total, 220.5 now. Hasn't looked great here, Ski, this Detroit Wizards team. Still early, though. But, my goodness, expected a little bit more from them early on. We haven't gotten it. What do you think about their matchup here against the Wizards tonight?
Well, first off, I'll just go ahead and say I like a little bit more of the prop angle for this one, just because Kuzma's been balling. That's my boy from the Lakers. Since he's been in the Wizards uniform, every time he goes against the Pistons, he does his thing. He gets 20-plus points. I think he's had 23, 26, 24, something like that. And he's looking at Bogdanovich guarding him tonight, which, barbecue chicken in my eyes. So Kuzma, his point prop is 17.5. I think you have to go up and over that. And as far as the rest of the game, the Wizards, they're not a team that I look at where I want to lay points like that. Like -6, -5.5, that means you have to win by a few possessions. You have to play some defense. And they're going to have to prove to me that they're that good. So just because of that reason, I know Detroit's role last year was, catching points like this, maybe more so at home, but maybe even a little bit more points. But I would fade the Wizards just because I don't trust them. But like Kuzma a little more.
Yeah, I mean, call me crazy here, Rob, but this Washington, are they playing defense? Should we be looking at this team and going, wait a minute, hold on, there's actually an effort to slow some teams down here? What do you think?
They are, Joe. In fact, I had it in my notes. They played 3 games, and no opponent has shot better than 42.7% against them yet this year. Damn. They've held everybody to under 43%, which is very un-Wizard-like. But when you look at their lineup, you can sort of understand it. They're a little bit longer now with Will Barton at the small forward. Kuzma, as Ski mentioned, aside from his offense, he's a really good defensive player. Porzingis now in the interior. So they're a little more constructed. And when you look at their second unit, especially on this team, guys, you don't see a lot of shooters, but you see some defenders. Hachimura, Daniel Gafford is a really good defender, the kid from Arkansas who's been there a couple of years now. Johnny Davis played defense at Wisconsin. So they've got some guys here. And it looks like that's the way they're headed. I would venture to say they're a better rounded team at this point, the way they're constructed right now, than what we've seen the last couple of years. That being said, the Pistons are 3-0 over the total so far this year, right? 239, 236, 222. All 3 of those results are over what you're asked to get over here tonight at 220.5. However, I can't get there. Aside from Washington being a better defensive team, guys, they don't shoot threes. I think I have it down here. They're number 27 in the NBA right now in 3-point field goal attempts per game. Very much more of the mid-range, they get to the rim type variety. And as I said before, when you look through their 9-10 man rotation, you don't find a heck of a lot of pure perimeter shooters on this team. So I think maybe under goes pretty well here. Two teams that are, they're probably both on the rise. Detroit is a much better team, especially with Jaden Ivey, who's Cade Cunningham can't sing his praises enough about how good of an athlete and how good of an offensive player Jaden Ivey is at this point in time. So I think that I would probably they've taken a pretty sizable piece off of this total, right? I think it was 223 to open, if I'm not mistaken, and we're looking at 220 and a half right now. But I still think there's probably some room to play that one under.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they have struggled offensively. Detroit, Tony Finn, feels like Beal's going to have a monster night here. Halliburton certainly did the other night against them. What do you think we're going to get here in this game? 5.5? Are you worried about laying it?
Yes and no. How's that for a firm answer, right? Everything you guys really covered it pretty well. The Pistons haven't been as defensive as those of us who have supported them on a season team win total. And a big part of that, guys, is what is that they've tried to pick up their pace a little bit. They've played, they're playing, I think, at 102 and a half, 102.67 possessions per game. Washington, 98.10, 0.1, 0.9. They're playing slower too, which is going to make, and I know the percentages shouldn't be affected, but it'll also, at some more point in time, people are going to say Washington's playing better defense. A lot of it has to do with how they're playing, too, as well. That said, Detroit's leaving three-point shooters. Almost 25% are wide open, which is not going to work. Not in this climate of the NBA. That said, as Rob said, Washington not shooting three-pointers. Right. They're slowing the pace down. They're working the ball. They're only shooting 30% of their Washington shots. 30.7 of their shots are coming from deep. But big change from last year. They shot some quarter this year. Almost 40% of those shots are going in, which is a huge improvement and something that's pretty important. The total's down. This, I think, is because of the pace. Detroit eventually will go back to what they used to do. I'm not in this room, guys, but if I was, I think Detroit's a tough fit for the way Washington's changed the style they're playing. I'd be on Detroit the 5 or 6 if I could get them.
All right, there you go. Taking the points there, Tony Finn.
Let me mention something real quick, Joe.
Yeah, go.
And I want to ask a question to you guys, too, because, I'm just looking who the Wizards have played. Miles Turner was out last minute. Pacers probably played like they weren't ready for that game. The Bulls without Levine. Cavaliers without their point guard. Like, are we giving this Wizards team too much credit too early? Are they going to be a top 10 defensive rated team this year, or are they going to be bottom 10?
I
say bottom 10.
The middle of
that. But is Detroit going to be the team to push him in that direction? I don't know. That's the problem, right? Rob, they're not. They've been somewhat quick-paced, Detroit, but I don't know. If they're not making any shots, I don't know if we're going to find out tonight whether or not they're a little bit of a fraud here, this Washington team.
Yeah, I think to Ski's point, first off, Indiana is a team that wants to go.
Right.
And whether they had Miles Turner or not, that doesn't stop the pace. And they held that team to 107. Chicago didn't have Levine, but again, they're a somewhat middle-of-the-road, quick-type team. Better shooting team for sure. And then the Cavaliers got 117, but it took overtime to do so. So I don't know. To answer Ski's question, he said, are they going to be a top 10 defensive team? I'm not going to go that far. But am I going to say that I think they're improved just because of the way that they're constructed? I'd say yes. We've known Washington to be as leaky as any defensive team over the last few years. And this year it just seems to be a little bit different. And where game totals are concerned, like we brought up earlier, if you're not going to shoot as many threes, and Washington just doesn't shoot them. Right. And Tony brought up they're making 40%, but that sample size is so small because they haven't put hardly any up. Go through their individual player statistics and see, I think the top guy, 3 games, has shot 20 threes. Some guys shoot 15 in a night. So I don't know. It's probably somewhere in the middle, Ski. I don't want to get carried away and sound like we're putting Washington up on a pedestal here defensively.
Yeah, no, but it's The numbers are shocking, to say the least, here in the first couple of games for them. Not what we're used to seeing. And also the pace is extremely slow than what we've seen from them as well. So, interesting game, guys. That's coming up. I'd still look at Bradley Beal over his points prop, though. We'll move on to another game here tonight, which I think is going to be also pretty interesting because it involves none other than the Dallas Mavericks and the New Orleans Pelicans. +6 now is what we're seeing in the marketplace. That's what New Orleans is getting. Total has come down to 18 to 18.5, 7:30 on this one. All right, Ski, so we've got pretty much nobody playing for New Orleans, right? Zion's out. They're all, I think, pretty much, right? 3 or 4 of these guys are out here. But the line hasn't really moved all that much into Dallas's favor. It was 5 this morning. 6 is what I'm seeing now here, Ski. So what do you think's up here?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty telling. A lot of people, and I mean, it's pretty black and white to look at it and say Ingram is out. I think Herb Jones is out and Zion out. Like, oh, we got to run and go bet Dallas. But like you said, it gives me some pause to see no movement in the line. I do think they're the more talented team without those guys out there. It's a lot less scoring for the Pelicans side, but it just seems like something a little bit more fishy to me in this game. So the way I prefer to bet it, if you have the other 2 top scorers out, I mean, we saw it for an extended stretch last year. We got to go to CJ McCollum. His point prop is 23.5. If he does not hit 24 points, Pelicans are losing by 20 points. So I got to rock with CJ.
Yeah,
I mean, CJ, absolutely.
Valanciunas and McCollum, if it ain't happening, I don't know. It's got to begin and end with those 2 guys, Tony Finn. So would you take the points in this case, or would you look more towards the total here?
Well, I think you guys picked on a really good point. And the fact is, this number was what it was early this morning. It was 5. I think it was right around 5.5, right? And that's when there was no confirmation yet, at least, that the Pelicans were going to be without Williamson, and Jones, and all of the players that are pretty important to them. Let me ask you this: if Zion was to be pushed into the lineup, let's say he's going to play 25. Let's say he's going to be limited. What would this line have gone to? Would it have gone to a 3? It hasn't moved much now, so what's the difference? I think you made a good point. Here's my point, and that is McCollum, Hayes, and Big V in the middle. Last year, when those 3, and there was a lot of injuries last year, we talked about it. When Ingram was out and Zion was out all year, but McCollum, Hayes, and Big V, when they shared the floor, they were almost a +6 for 100 possessions. They grabbed 30.5 of missed shots, and they put up 119 offensive rating. I'm all over the total here in this game. Over, I might even be Pelicans and over in this game. But those three on the floor, why not?
All right, liking the Pelicans and looking at the over, Vino. I would say you got New Orleans. I mean, we just talked about Washington not shooting threes. Nobody's worse than New Orleans at shooting threes. In fact, they are pretty much dead last when it comes to the frequency of shooting threes. Why would you when you can dump it in the middle there and just and have Zion go to work, right? So what do you do here, Vino? You looking at the total? You looking at the side?
Well, the first thing we did was, before Ski even opened his mouth, I got my pen, and I didn't want to steal his thunder, but I wrote this down, what he was going to say. You can't say, it should say CJ over.
Yes,
right
CJ
there.
over.
CJ with an arrow going up, because I knew exactly what he was going to say. And how does he not score 25 points in this game, guys? If you're playing props, you have to get on that. I think Valanciunas' points, rebounds, and assists were 31 and a half. And again, I mean, who else is going to rebound other than him when he's in the game? So maybe you look at a couple of props there. But I'll say this real quick. Before we go too fast reading into the line, you could have done the same thing a couple of nights ago, right? Dallas played Memphis. And I get that the Dallas game that night was at home.
Right.
All right, but that game opened 5 and closed 5.5 with Memphis on a back-to-back with Memphis without Dillon Brooks, with Memphis without Jaren Jackson, with Memphis having to come from behind in the fourth quarter and Ja having to score 49 points the night before to beat Houston. And nobody bet Dallas. And Dallas won by like 40 points. This is a divisional game, which the Memphis game was. It's important for Dallas to beat these teams because that's a hotly contested division, the Southeast. Is it the Southeast? It must be. But regardless, if you're going to, at the end of the season, if they're going to go to tiebreakers and whatnot, you want to have these division wins racked up. This line isn't holding because Tim Hardaway's not going to play. I mean, we know that. Dallas can obviously replace him. I just, does it seem fishy? It does. Did the Memphis line not moving against that with nobody betting Dallas against them seem fishy as well in that situation? Yeah, it did. I tried anyway. It wound up being correct. I don't know, guys. I won't say never, but it's hard to believe that two guys can beat 6 or 7. And that's what New Orleans is asking their two starters to do here tonight in a game where I think Dallas will be motivated.
All right. Both teams, Pelicans 13th in pace right now. Mavericks 25th. Nothing new. They were both bottom 10 last year in pace. So it'll be interesting to see who pushes it and who doesn't push it. Because there is no transition game without Zion here. Why would the world would they want to try to push pace?
Here's what just hit me. At some point in time in this game, when Jose Alvarado is in, he might be asked to defend Luka as the point guard. Oh. How in the world are you going to defend Luka Doncic? They just don't have anybody on that team without their players. So it'll be interesting. I think that, we might be reading too much into the non-line movement.
It might have to look at Luka's point total. Is it over 45? Because it's too low then.
His points are 29.5, I think.
It's 20, yeah. So he's got to be, his PRA has got to be up near, 40, Vino? Somewhere in that ballpark there? Because, he going to get every one of them, too. Here tonight in this one. All right, let's focus on our featured game here tonight. The late game, of course, everyone will be looking at. That'll be the Golden State Warriors heading to Phoenix to take on the Suns. 1.5 twos in the marketplace. Phoenix as a home favorite here, total 227. That's been bet up here throughout the morning. 10 o'clock Eastern time tip-off here. Tony, Finn, kick us off. Tell us. Who are you looking at in this one?
Well, I would be. There's a couple things I haven't learned yet, and when I learn those, I could have answered this instantly. But typically, I would have said, look how Phoenix played the Clippers in the Staples now cryptocurrency or court, whatever it might be, and. They had to be impressed with that, right? But it was there had a lot to do with it. It was a nothing burger game. It really was. I mean, Lou is not playing. He's really sorting minutes, dividing them up. He doesn't look like he really cares whether they win. I mean, he's going to act like they care. But he needs a couple weeks to get things sorted out. How many minutes is Kawhi going to play, and how much is Wall going to play? A lot of work to find out what this rotations are going to be. It's going to work best for the Clippers. As far as Phoenix goes, the questions are: is 37-year-old Paul did the playoffs last year, which he was not very good in? Has he hit? Has he hit that? He's on the downside of the speed bump, guys. Is he? Because he looked pretty good, in the second half of that game. But with Paul in there, this Phoenix team's really good, especially if he's a threat to score. If he's not a threat to score, Phoenix is handicapped. They really are. I'm at this point in time, Golden State's deep. I think Kerr's playing with everybody. He's gonna basically spread minutes out. He thinks he can win, guys. He thinks he can win playing 11 players, 10 and 11 players, and he thinks all of them can score double figures. And I think he might be right. Give me the Warriors.
Liking the Warriors here tonight. Ski, the one thing we knew about that championship team last year is you didn't want to mess with them at home. They were pretty damn good, 31-10 at home. But when they got on the road, 22-19, their first road game here, rolling with an 11-man rotation. What do you do here tonight in this one?
Well, I just to the point of what Tony was just saying about, Kerr playing all the guys. Like, that screwed him in the last game. That's what I was just talking about to start the show.
Yep.
He's saying he trusts him, but they're not showing it on the court. So, and if I knew that everybody, is conditioned and they're going to play their normal minutes for Golden State side, I'm all over them. Just because I know they're the better team. And I know even with that little whatever they had in practice with Draymond and Jordan Poole, they'll be all right. It's better than what's going on over there in Phoenix. So I'm not sure everybody's bought in Phoenix yet. I agree with the point about Chris Paul. I just think the Warriors are the better team. And you're giving me the better team at a dog price. That's the only way I would play this game.
Kind of hard. I'm kind of with you there, Ski. Kind of hard to look anyplace else but Golden State here. What do you think, Rob Vino? First road game for the champs? Make a difference one way or the other?
Well, first game against anybody that can play defense. I mean, if we're looking at strength of schedule between these two teams so far, it's not even a comparison. We just talked about how bad Denver stinks on defense. That was a Golden State opponent. Sacramento hasn't played defense, since Chris Webber and Doug Christie. Woo! And the Lakers don't play any defense whatsoever. So that's 3 games where Golden State. This is why it's hard for me, guys. Golden State's the number 1 tempo team in the league right now. And they're scoring points in huge, huge bunches, which generally would lead me to over in this game. And I understand why people pushed it from 224.5 up to 227. But when you're playing those defenses, and now you're going to come into Phoenix, a team that obviously will have this game circled against Golden State, and they do have the defensive capability to do a lot better than Golden State's 3 previous opponents. That might back me off over a little bit. However, Phoenix with Landry Shamet campaign, the whole second unit back in now, probably can score when the starters are out, just the same way Golden State can score when their starters are out. So there's a dilemma here. There's a real dilemma. I think if push comes to shove, I would prefer to play over in this game, but I'm leery of it just because Golden State hasn't seen any real defense yet. And if Steve Kerr does decide that he's only going to push his starters 30 minutes and play his reserves a bunch of minutes, if Monty Williams leaves his starters on the floor, it might be a little more difficult for them to score, for Golden State to score. So I don't know. Like I say, from what I see so far, I'd love to say I definitively like over because Golden State's been so good at scoring. But I do think that what they played has been defensive trash. I guess my dog agrees with me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It won't be defensive trash tonight.
All right, let me just say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Ski. Like, Golden State third quarter, can we just punch it in? That's it, right? Like, we're good? Third, all right, good, that's in. Very good here.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, all right, just third quarter. Just give me Golden State third quarter. All right, so there is one other game on here tonight, but the Oklahoma City's already in tank mode, and that line has come down to 8 now because maybe is he playing, Ski? Have they decided what's going on, or are we just taking Lou Dort props over? What are we doing?
I mean, usually when you're upgraded from out to questionable, those guys end up going, in my opinion.
Yeah. Love it. Love where you're looking at that. Clippers, OKC's the other game. Now, of course, we'll check in and see if maybe these guys have that game or props or what they're going to do for a best bet here. And Ski, we'll start it off with you, man. 60 seconds on the clock. Tell us, where you going here tonight?
Well, I'll go to the game that we didn't talk about just because we only have short selection. And I can't do, like, the way I normally cap, you guys already know. I don't have my last 5 game stats. They haven't even played 5 games yet. So We're almost there. Till then, I think I'm gonna rock with these player props a little heavier. So the Clippers and OKC, one thing we know about OKC, they cannot rebound. It was true last year. So far this year, they've given up 16 rebounds to each opposing starting center. And you're looking at Zubac at 10.5 rebounds. I want to say he's got that the last couple times he played OKC, or at least the last time he played OKC. But I just think it's not a tough ask for him to get 11 versus a team who's giving up, north of 15 versus everybody else. So Zubac over 10.5 rebounds, best bet in the game that we did not talk about.
Oh, I like that. All right, up and over for that rebound prop there. Tony Finn, come on, my man. 60 seconds on the clock. Where are you looking here for a best bet tonight?
I don't have much to entertain you guys and our viewers today. I'm going to make it really sweet. So Gil, I'm showing Gil is going to play tonight. It's obvious I think he's going to play just because of what Ski said. But I'm going to go to Dort. I'm going to play over 23.5 on his par. I'm on his points, assists, and rebounds. Dort can sleepwalk as well as any NBA player I know. You remember when he was a rookie and we were all making fun of him, saying this guy couldn't shoot. He couldn't hit the side of a barn with a beach ball. Well, over 23.5 tonight. Points, assists, rebounds with Dort because I'm giddy about Giddy being out. So I'm giddy about Dort.
Ooh. Giddy up. I love it. Like to see what's going on with him. All right, Rob Vino, talk to us here. Which one of these games and plays might you be leaning towards here tonight?
Well, let's just go back to what seems easiest, Joe. And we won't even, pick the lowest hanging fruit, which was C.J. McCollum over 24.5 points. But if I stay on that same side, we said it earlier, I have to believe Valanciunas, points, rebounds, assists, gets over 31.5. I mean, you're asking the guy to go like 24-8, 23-9 tonight in a game where he's going to probably have to take more shots than he generally does, and in a game where he's going to have to clean the boards a little bit better than he generally does. So those points and rebounds have to go somewhere. Those minutes have to go somewhere. I know they'll probably use a little bit of Jackson Hayes, but he is coming off an injury, and they've been slow to put him in and play him big minutes. So I'll try player prop with Valanciunas up and over 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And real quick here, 14 seconds left, I'll just add, watch pretty close tonight, Oklahoma City and LA Clippers. We talked about how young teams want to run these old teams off the floor, and I could see that happening. OKC's number one in three-point attempts so far this season.
Ooh. All right, so let me, sticking back on there, I got one follow-up question for you here. So we have seen Leonard, right? We've seen Kawhi. It's interesting the way they've used him so far. He seems to be second quarter somewhere at that particular point. Then he goes on, he does like a stint in the first half, and then it seems like they bring him back really at the end of games, and really in the fourth quarter at some point, and he's closing. So, I mean, Ski, should we be maybe live betting when he's on the floor trying to close out a game like this?
I was just locked in on a horse race. That's my bad, Joe.
No,
that's done for the day.
No. Kawhi Leonard is. That's why I go with. Where do they read? Never mind. Hold on. You give me that play afterwards. Kawhi Leonard seems to be closing out games in this rotation that they're using him. So it just seems like if this game is close, somewhere near that fourth quarter, give me Kawhi to close it out when it's all said and done. No.
Well, I don't know how much he's, in shape either. But I don't know. I guess that means you're looking at Kawhi point prop. I wouldn't look towards his point prop. I would look more towards the guy, and he hasn't been playing that well or shooting that well, but he'll have the opportunity without Paul George. I would look towards Norman Powell. I think that's the guy I would be looking at in that game.
Ooh, what do you think, Finn? Would you look towards Kawhi? I mean, honestly, even if it's a situation where it's anywhere close, gotta like Kawhi's Leonard. Kawhi's just not going to go out there looking like a chump, no?
No. I'll tell you what. I don't think Kawhi has. I think Kawhi is doing exactly what Kawhi wants to do, and that's coming into the season slow. He does not want to be. He's already getting labeled. How can we? He's not reliable. He said, he's been injured. He's always. He's not the same player he was when he won those 2 championships. The 2 best players for the Clippers, if you've watched them, have been George. Obviously, he scored the 40 in Game 2, but Marcus Morris plays so physical. Listen, good shooter, physical, doesn't back down from any. I like the Morris twins a bunch. Really like Marcus. But what I like tonight is I like Oklahoma City Thunder in this game because of what you guys just started. You just started looking. No Morris tonight for personal reasons. Right. George is sick. Kawhi is limited. Wall's limited. Give me OKC and 10 running up and down the court. I agree with you. You guys talked me into it. Yeah.
Boom. See? So glad we can do that, Rob. So, Rob, how long do you think before we start to see John Wall and Kawhi Leonard as a go? Is it going to be at least a month here where they're going to use them very limited?
Yeah, I mean, they almost have to, with the aspirations that they have, Joe, to win the Western Conference, you just have to make sure that these guys can make it to the finish line, which is the end of the regular season. So don't kill them here. If you look down the pace ratings, they are one of the slower teams, once again, which they have been. They're way more defensive-minded. And I still think they're trying to work some things out offensively. Without Paul George and without Marcus Morris tonight, it will be interesting to see how they go style-wise, because, again, just off of what we've seen the first few days here, these teams that are young and can run, they're going to use that to their advantage against teams that are older and don't want to run. So maybe that's why SGA wants to get into this game, because he's 30 waiting to happen. Reggie Jackson's been hurt on the other side too a little bit. So, and to your point, you know what? If you think that Kawhi's a good bet to close a game out, live bet, then I don't think you could go wrong taking Oklahoma City plus the 8 and then the Clippers at the end, if and that's the way you feel, because it means the game's going to be close, right?
Good point. Great middling opportunity there, guys. All right, to recap one more time. Zubac over 10.5 rebounds here tonight in that game for Ski. Finn likes Lou Dort going off in his PRA, 23.5. Rob Vino, Valanciunas over 31.5 in his PRA, and over on McCollum, Rob Vino wrote it down, so Ski didn't have to say it. Just throwing it out there. And, of course, Golden State in the third quarter. Make sure you head over to WagerTalk.com, guys. Check out the pages of Rob Vino, of Ski Profit, of Tony Finn. You heard them talk best bets, some of them locked in and loaded already this week. Plenty of NBA action still to come. Nice little card here tonight. No reason not to make it a profitable one. So make sure you go ahead and visit all three gentlemen at WagerTalk.com. And then, of course, make plans. Come back and join us again tomorrow as another full card slated in the association. And, of course, we're going to break down a few of those games for you. Until then, on behalf of Ski, Rob Vino, and Tony Finn, guys, appreciate the time. Best of luck with your plays tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Boo! Yes, it's the final week of October, which means we have the World Series, college football, the NFL, NHL action, the NBA, UFC, soccer, and let's not forget about that college basketball right around the corner. Since we're almost obliged to have a Halloween commercial, let's make it a scary good one. Until midnight on October 31st, no costume is required to get a 31% discount on one all-access package of your choice at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo using coupon code BOO31 at checkout. This coupon will save you over $12 on a one-day all-access that includes any 5% plays. And it'll also save you over $18 off a 3-day all-access. Or why not go big and save over $90 off a 30-day all-access? Or perhaps take over business for the next year by saving over $600 with a 12-month all-access package. Coming out to just $3.77 per day for the next 365 days. Coupon code BOO31 expires at midnight on Halloween. But remember to use it wisely, as this coupon can only be used once at WagerTalk and once at Sports Memo. From my friend and I, happy Halloween.